Hey guys, this is Mike Howerton back at you with another video. And today I'm joined by our teammate Tracy Rumschlag. He's our chassis specialist here at Area 51. And in the last video we did, did a video showing you two websites that you can actually go to get some free setups to start building on, or even run straight out of the box with those sets. But today, this video, we're going to jump right into it here, and we're going to show you guys some basics about how to start building your own setups. And this isn't going to be a full tutorial all in one. I mean, that would take us probably a couple of hours, but we're going to do a series of these videos, and we're going to focus tonight on a couple of areas to start out with, and looking at the chassis. And one thing that you're going to know that we're going to start and lead this conversation with is the fact that there are three different chassis, especially when building for the Xfinity cars is what we're going to look at tonight. Some of these principles will apply no matter if you're building for Xfinity, Truck Series, or Cup cars. But we're really going to look at the Xfinity tonight, and we want to try to teach you tonight, like, the fact that there are three chassis, that there's some differences between them, and Tracy's really going to get into that. So I want to kick it over to Tracy right now, and he's going to share his screen with us, and he's going to pull up the garage in iRacing, and we're going to start with the iRacing open setup that's provided by iRacing, and kind of take a look and show you guys the stuff in there. So Tracy, why don't you go ahead and share your screen, get this video off of my face, and we'll share your screen and get into the garage.
All right, let me know what you see so I'll get started for you.
We see it. We see your garage.
All right, well, let's correct one thing here, Mike. Drop your beer, grab your gear, the Admiral's here. So let's go that route. So anyways, yeah, so what we have in the Xfinity car, we have a lot of people post questions and ask us from time to time, they want to get into setups, but they don't know how. And the biggest problem is you have reality, which is from, setting up real race cars in real life. And then you have the iRacing way of doing things. And that's where you have to separate the two if you're going to be successful here in iRacing. And the biggest thing, and you and I have discussed this before in the past about setups when you have asked me about them, is I always tell people that all the numbers and what you see in the garage here, for the most part, is just artwork. Okay, because the numbers really don't apply to any real life setting. They're just, starting points. And especially in the B car here, and it can be really confusing for a person that's trying to work their way through the ranks, maybe just came out of the C truck, want to go into the B and hopefully work their way into the A, or possibly even Pro, who knows. But the biggest thing is you have to identify these chassis. And iRacing has three basic chassis that they use here in the B. And basically it's the B only. So you have to identify those. And the two ways that you can identify these chassis, and those chassis are, one, the super speedway chassis, Talladega, Daytona. Then we have our intermediates, which are all our cookie cutters like Charlotte, Kentucky. You can fill in the rest yourself, fill in the blank. There's no real wrong answer there. And then we have our high bank stuff, which is like our Dover and Bristol. And then we also have our short tracks, and the short tracks, there's two of them, two that are different. The principles are the same, but the tire pressures are the dead giveaway. And that's what I want to get into first, is how to identify what you have. Okay. So we're using the Phoenix set, and this is iRacing's open set. So this is their version of a competitive set. And we're looking at the tire screen right now. And the first thing I go to when iRacing changes something or updates, to make sure that these minimums on the right-hand side tire pressures, what those are. And that tells me pretty much what chassis I'm on. And I'll give you an example here. So we're trying to find out what chassis that is Phoenix. Okay, we don't know, right? We just know that we have a chassis to start with. But if you don't know what chassis you're on, sometimes a new builder can mess themselves up between, say, an intermediate car and a short track car. First way of identifying it is here on the right-hand side tire pressures, okay? We always look at the minimums, what the minimums are, okay? And I'll give you an example. Here it's 28 pounds, I'm sorry, PSI. And you can go up, but you can't go below it, okay? So 28 is a minimum. And usually the 28 PSI on the right side is usually considered their short track car. But in order for us to verify that, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go into the chassis side. We're going to go from the tire side to the chassis side now, the tab. And we're going to come up here where the ballast is, okay? Now, this is just iRacing's setting for their setup, okay? But I want to know what chassis it is, and how you find that out is you go up here to the arrow and where it takes it down. Okay, we want to go is where the minimum is, and usually the minimum on all these cars is 28 inches, and this one is as well. So I'm going to slide over here, hit apply, and I'm going to look at this nose weight percentage, and this is where we get questioned a lot of times. A lot of people ask, what are the numbers in the garage? What am I looking for? What should I be looking for? This kind of thing. And this is what you should be looking for, okay? And this is how we identify the chassis every week when you're racing. So when you ask me what chassis we're on, this is how I find out about it. So it's 28 inches of what they call ballast forward. We know it as nose weight. The key thing here for the new builder is don't get involved in the number. We're not interested in the inches per se. That's just the starting point. What we are interested in is the nose weight percentage, okay? And I'll give you a reason why. So I can't do it here in this particular track because it's a large short track considered by iRacing. But if we go to say, like, let's say we take you to Charlotte to go practice, or possibly even like we went to Auto Club. The 28 inches of nose weight that they use is not 50.3 inches on the intermediate car. It's actually 50.8. And that trips up a lot of people when they're trying to make their own setups. They'll go, why didn't my setup from the previous week work at this next track? Well, this is why. This is one of the reasons why. Two reasons why is the balance of the car, or the geometry of the car, is not the same. So you can't consider it to be the same. And as I go into my explanation here, I'll explain the super speedway car, and you'll be able to pick up more on why these are not the same. But anyways, so this particular car is more of the short track car. At 28 inches, it's 50.3 inches of nose weight, or 50.3% of nose weight. And that's what we want to work in, is the percentages, not the inches. Okay, that's a big mistake by new builders. They'll be in the truck series. Everything in the truck series, unless they've changed on an update, has always been consistent. Whatever inches of nose weight equaled X value of the percentage of nose weight. Okay, so over there it's a little different animal. They actually use, for guys that don't know anything about the C Open, where we're at 28 inches here, the truck actually uses a negative value for their minimum setting, but we'll cover that in another video on that one. So just kind of bear with us on that. But so that's the two ways.
So Tracy, I just wanted to confirm for everybody, then listen, like, of everything you just said. So repeating back how you determine whether or not you're a short track chassis or intermediate is first the tires. So let's go back over to the tires tab. And in order to be a short track, it's 28 PSI on the right side tires.
Right, and that's minimum
yes,
tire pressure.
Minimum tire pressure. And then in order to say, okay, is it intermediate or short, it's just 28. Then to confirm that it's intermediate or short, then you go to the chassis. And once you're at the chassis, you take the ballast all the way back as far as it'll go. And it goes back to 28 inches. And it's 28 inches then, no matter what, if it's short or intermediate, it's still 28 inches. However, the nose weight then will read 50.3 on a short track chassis, but it'll read 50.8 on an intermediate chassis. Is that correct? That's how you determine it? Okay.
Yeah. The short track in this particular case, it's definitely a minimum of 28 inches, always is, okay, but it's either going to be 50, it's usually 50.3 with either 28 pounds PSI on the right sides, or like at Martinsville, that part's the same, but the minimum right side tire pressures is actually 22. So it's either going to be 22 or 28 minimum right side tire pressures, and that's at 28 inches of nose weight with 50.3% of nose weight. Now, the intermediate, going into the intermediate car, will also be a minimum of 28 inches nose weight, but that is 50.8%. You were correct on that one. But the minimum right side tire pressures go up a lot. It goes up from like 28 pounds to 45 pounds as a minimum. So that's how you tell the intermediate. It's 45 pounds minimum at 28 inches with 50.3% nose weight. So that's an intermediate car. So that covers the short track and the intermediate car. So from there, when you go to, let's say, a high bank, okay, I wasn't sure here. I had to do a little research myself, but the high bank being like Bristol, that's a short track, but high bank. And we have Dover, which is a mile, and that's also considered short track. Now that one there is also the considered the short track car at 50.3 inches or 50.3% at 28 inches, but I believe those tire pressures are up around that 45 psi. So you got to be careful. Like I said, you just kind of got to look at the two separate areas to identify what you have. Okay, and then once you find those, you just don't want to take, say, a Bristol car or a Dover car and try to take that setup and carry it to the next week, because one, it probably won't make tech. You know what I mean? It probably won't pass the tech. And that's usually why, because the variables are different there. So anyway, so that covers our short track, our intermediate. I just threw in the high bank because, like I say, we do have a couple there, couple tracks there that does apply to. And then we get into the one that's really, it's kind of odd, because in the real world, back in the 90s, I know you would never run like 0 inches of nose weight, which in iRacing is 49%, which is like rear weight. You'd run that at like Martinsville to get it to turn. But anyways, so what I found at the super speedway, one is the minimum inches, the amount of inches that the ballast forward can be is actually not 28, it's 0. Okay. So, and people can check this on me too and leave it in the comments, but so a lot of people think the minimum is actually 28 when they go to the super speedway. In reality, it's not. They don't even check, but it is 0. So just keep that in mind when you go to the super speedways. You can actually remove nose weight, and if you do take it down to 0, it ends up to be 49%. So you actually got a little rear weight, just like 1% in the rear of the car, which I'm not a fan of at the super speedways. I was taught to make the car drive more like a dart. You know, you want a little bit of nose weight in there to settle it down. That way, if you get banged around a little bit, the thing kind of wants to straighten out, not, go all over the track. And then you end up getting a hospital hop trying to catch the thing, and then you end up with a big pile up. But anyway, so that's the minimum on the super speedway. And also the super speedway, not only is it 0 inches of nose weight at 49%, that one also is 45 PSI on the right-hand side, the right side tire pressures. So that's how you identify those chassis. And like I said, if you got to be aware what chassis you're on at what track, because they're not the same. And I know the short track cars, you have to do some different things to get them to drive right, just because of the soft tire pressures is what I'm thinking. But they do tend to roll over, and it's hard to get the nose to sit flat on them on the short track cars. But we can get into that and do another video when we actually break down actual setup stuff. So anyways, but that's pretty much all the chassis right there, Mike, that I have for you. Hopefully that information will carry over to the people wanting to learn how to do the setups, and that they can build on their skills that way too.
Awesome. Thanks, Tracy. And I tell you, we are, as we do these videos, we're going to kind of wrap it up with one topic at a time. And I think this is really going to help people just get started, because before you can start, making your adjustments on the setups, and before you can start getting your plan of attack for the week, when building your sets, you have to at least, like you said, know which car you're even building for, because that's really going to determine, what approach you're going to take. So I appreciate your time and explaining this to everyone. And I think this is going to be very helpful to those who are just getting started, that are kind of feel overwhelmed. I know whenever I started iRacing and me and you first started talking about setups and stuff, I knew nothing. I'm not really claiming to know a lot right now, but I knew nothing. And I just felt so overwhelmed when looking at the garage. And I think that doing this video series that we're starting right now, and starting the very first video with this simple topic of how do you tell which chassis you're even building for, I think is the first step in helping making this a little less overwhelming for beginners.
Absolutely. And, as our viewers, if they buy their own setups or choose to make their own setups, at least they can understand a little more of what that possible, setup chassis builder was doing, what his ideas are, possibly see that there might be a consistent pattern here. I know I have my own pattern where when you and I are working out cars that, that I do for you, and then we make our corrections that way. But it just boils down to, let's say you have your favorite intermediate chassis. Maybe you used one at Darlington, you absolutely killed them. And then you go to a short track, but you want to take that setup and convert it over into the smaller, the shorter track. All of a sudden, it's not the same, because that 28 inches changes that nose weight, makes it drive completely different. So if you're not aware of that percentage of nose weight, and I'll give you the example I use for you is, if you like your intermediate car and we bring it to the shorter track, let's say Phoenix in this particular case, then what I have to do to make that nose weight the same is actually increase the inches of ballast forward to equal that 50.88, 50.8% that you do like. So that's how I work around that. So, but that's the information that a lot of these videos that we do see, with builders and people trying to help out, a lot of this stuff I don't ever hear mentioned, and I don't think it's a black art. I don't think it's a trade secret or anything like that. But that's what makes people get disgruntled and just upset with iRacing and the setup process, because they change the variables, and if you're not paying attention, it will just throw you every time. You'll get upset and you just won't want to do it. And that just kind of hurts the racing too, because then you got guys out there just guessing at it, and pretty soon they become missiles, and they don't mean to, but it's just because they don't know the tools that they have at hand.
Absolutely. Well, guys, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it. And for Mike Howerton here at Area 51 Alien Factory and my buddy Tracy Rumschlag, we are here making these videos for you guys. And all we'd ask, if you have not subscribed yet, just ask you go down in the video down below and hit that subscribe button. We are almost to 100 subscribers. We have been trying to reach that goal here for a couple of weeks. And last time I checked, right before the recording of this video, we were only 3 subscribers away. So if enough of you watch this video, go down. If you haven't yet, click the subscribe button. We may hit that 100 subscribers from this video itself. And also down in the description below, there are there's going to be 2 affiliate links. One is the Majors Garage. And the way that works is you just simply click on the link or copy and paste the link into your browser, whatever. And you go to the Majors Garage using that link, and anything that you purchase there as a subscription or an individual set you purchase there, we get a very small commission back here to channel, helps channel out. Also, Jeff McConey from McConey Setup Shop contacted us here at Area 51 and said, hey, I'd like to supply your viewers, your subscribers, with a promo code to get a small 10% discount at McConey Setup Shop for your viewers. So if you go down below and go to McConey Setup Shop and you grab that promo code Area 51 with no spaces, and you enter that at checkout in the McConey Setup Shop, you can save 10% on all your purchases there, not counting their monthly subscription. So it'd be individual purchases at McConey Setup Shop. They're giving you, our viewers, 10% off. And if you like the content of this video and you appreciate Tracy taking his time out to teach us a bit about the different chassis here in iRacing for the Xfinity car, just go ahead and give us a big old thumbs up smack on that like button. That'd be much appreciated. Let us know you like the video. Also, if you have any questions for me or Tracy, leave them down in the comments section below. We'd be more than happy to shoot you a quick response and answer any of your questions that you have. And yeah, that'd be great. Love to hear from you guys. And we always appreciate you watching the videos here at Area 51, and we will see you in the next one.